for the sunrise, gratitude for the sunshine, gratitude for the moonlight. Every day feels like a new life, especially when I meditate. Take a breath and then I elevate. Everything deserves gratitude.
Hello,
That's
you
my everyday
guys. I
attitude.
just felt like hearing this song talking about
Gratitude.
gratitude.
That's
That's
my
my
everyday
everyday
attitude.
attitude.
Gratitude.
Hello. If you are
Gratitude.
joining in, let me know you are
That's my
here.
everyday
If you're catching the replay, let me know that
attitude.
also. I just had to hear this song. Yeah, I'm just grateful.
Gratitude.
Grateful. Today has not gone as planned, but it's been a good day. Just a disclaimer, at any point one of my kids could bust up in here, and that's okay. Y'all just gonna see some real time parenting in the Jones house, but they are both home today. The three of us are kind of stuffy. Husband is fine, so he's out and about. But yeah, but still, I felt good enough to still come on, so I wanted to join. But again, they could bust up here at any moment, and that's okay. But I was playing that song because I am so grateful. I remember a time where I would have felt really stressed out and rushed, knowing I had something I desired to do at 1 o'clock, and we still up and running around as we know with the kids. But I was just so chill, like, hey, if y'all gonna join me on this live, or if I have to cancel this live, it is what it is. And yeah, so just a proud moment of noticing growth. And again, if I sound a little funny, yeah, I'm a little stuffy, but bear with me. And again, if you're here, let me know. Tell me who you are so I can know who is joining in. But as you guys know or may not know, could be your first time tuning in. Welcome to Growing in Gentleness, a weekly conversation for the gentle and not so gentle parent or caregiver. I am Elise, founder of Parenting for the Culture. And for the month of February, we have just been kind of jumping in and out, hitting on some African proverbs as a special tribute to the month of February. Just hitting on some African proverbs that pertain to parenting and just kind of seeing what wisdom we can glean from them. So this week is no different. We have a new proverb that shouldn't take too much time, but we're gonna jump right in. All right. So this week's proverb is: a child not embraced by the village will burn it down to feel its warmth. Whew, I don't know if that did anything to y'all like it did to me the first time I read it, but I'm gonna read it again. A child not embraced by the village will burn it down to feel its warmth. So in a nutshell, right, this proverb is a reminder that when a child doesn't receive the love and care they need from their community, they may resort to destructive behaviors, basically in an attempt to feel seen and heard. And now I know every week we have been talking, as parents, or the content has been directly for parents. But with this work, let me say this as a disclaimer. With this work, yes, as a parenting coach, a lot of the emphasis is on parents. But another sector that I truly enjoy working in and have been really targeting is not just parents, but the village, right? And when I read this, a particular group of the village came to mind that I want to talk to today. I understand many of them may not be on today, considering the time and their profession, but I just wanted to really use today to kind of talk to educators, talk to the teachers, because when I read this proverb, that is one of the first groups that came to mind. So again, it says a child not embraced by the village will burn it down to feel its warmth. So you may or may not know, I was in the education sector for over a decade, worked in the school setting as a school social worker, which included being, really hands on when it comes to counseling, to be honest, students and adults, but providing those therapeutic services in the school setting. And of course, a lot of that had to do with dealing with a lot of different behaviors from students. And anytime I would receive a referral, from a teacher about a child who, may have been labeled as defiant, quotations on purpose. But when a child was labeled as defiant, one of my first questions that I would ask the teacher is for them to tell me about their relationship with that student. Even on the actual referral. So referrals that teachers actually use to send to me, one of the questions I made sure I always put on there was, before they could hit submit, it was a mandatory question they had to answer, which was, tell me at least 3 strengths you have identified in this student. And I always thought that was super important because connection before correction is always necessary, right? And so when I asked them to tell me about their relationship with the child, I wanted to know things like, what do you know about this child? What do you know about their home life? What do you know about their hobbies or their interests? And that was, again, just super important because that connection piece, them knowing about the child, is a huge part of the child actually feeling embraced. So I was just always curious to know, what did they know about them? Because beneath the attitudes, beneath the I don't cares, beneath the anger, there's always something. And if you have been tuning into these lives, you probably have already heard me say more than once about how anger is a secondary emotion. It's secondary, meaning there is another primary emotion beneath that anger that is fueling the anger. The thing about anger, it gives us like a sense of control. Instead of feeling like inferior to the insecurities or the sadness or the embarrassment or the disappointment, instead of feeling like we are being overpowered by that, anger gives us a sense of power or control. And so I really try to work with, the different educators and teachers to understand, like, we got to start looking behind or beneath, underneath the anger. We have to really see what's there, to see the hurt, to see the embarrassment, to see the disappointment. For any parents who, love a good book for your kids, I would encourage you guys to look into the book. It's called Allie All Alone. And I love that story. It's a children's book, but it's so good for adults too, because it really paints a perfect visual of what I'm sorry, I thought that was kids. That's somebody outside. But it paints a perfect visual of what I mean when I say anger is a secondary emotion. So in the story, really quick, I'm gonna tell you about it just in case you want to look into it more. But in the story, it's a little girl, Allie. Yeah, she broke her crayon and the world came to a complete end. But what we see in that story, it takes us, oh, it's so beautiful, even their use of colors. It takes us through how she turns into a whole different person, but then her brother is there to help her peel back those layers. And so each time they do a different tool to help her take off a layer of her anger. And by the end of the story, we're back down to Allie, who was beneath all of those things, right? But it's just a really beautiful reminder that, again, beneath all of the anger is the real issue, beneath all of that. And so many times, going back to this quote, I'm gonna read it again. The quote says, or the proverb, excuse me, a child not embraced by the village will burn it down to feel its warmth. And so many times when we see kids burning down the village, in a sense, is because they have never felt heard. And when I read this proverb, it reminded me of a quote you may be familiar with by Dr. Martin Luther King. Think it's the exact wording is similar word, I can't say exact, but it said something along the lines of, basically, a riot is the voice or the language of the unheard, which is so true, right? When you think about any riot that we have seen take place, in history, it is the voice or it is the language of the unheard. And so when we feel like kids are, in a sense, burning down the village or having these disruptive behaviors or these things that we see, that are unacceptable, what is the piece of them that feel unheard? Because we have to remember that being heard, like, or how this quote says, being embraced by the community, that isn't a want, that's a need. That is a human need. And a lot of times when I talk to, different adults in a lot of different arenas, if you were to ask, like, what are the basic needs that every child needs, what would y'all say? What are the basic needs that all kids or children need? Drop your thoughts in the comments. But I typically, typically what is said, right? The three basic needs: food, water, and shelter. That is usually the three go-tos. But even though those things are important, those physical needs, right, there are also emotional needs that we cannot forget. Yes, Rakisha, for example, what she threw in there is a good example. But those physical needs again are great, but we can't forget about those emotional needs, which include the needs to feel safe, the need to feel seen, the need to feel supported, right? So those are needs as well. And so when a child don't, we say a child, but shoot, when we don't feel heard, when we don't feel heard, we act out in ways that look different for all of us, but we act out in ways to meet that need, right? Because again, how Martin Luther King said it, a riot is the voice or the language of the unheard. So I just want us to keep those three needs in mind as well: the need to feel safe, the need to feel seen, and the need to feel supported. And when I was looking up information or looking up like for images for this quote, this image popped up, and I want to show this to y'all. This image popped up when I thought it was so Angel, what girl? But yes, to be her. How you typing and doing her? You so funny. But yes, to be her, absolutely. And so when I was looking like for images for this particular proverb, yeah, let me show y'all this image that came up, and I was like, if that don't explain that so well. So again, the same proverb: the child who is not embraced by the village will burn it down to feel its warmth. If y'all have seen this movie, if you've seen Black Panther, you know who this is an image of. And that was just a perfect example of that. He felt so betrayed. He felt abandoned. He felt unloved by his own people. So what he do? Burn the village down, right? Because of those unmet needs. And so I thought that was just a really good visual that goes with that proverb, because again, because those emotional needs were not met, he acted out in ways to be heard. He acted out in ways to show his strength. He acted out in ways to be revengeful, to be honest, because of the hurt that he felt. Um and when I think about acting out, I just want to address one more thing, because again, when I read this proverb, it put me in the mind of educators for a lot of reasons. Let me just say, educators, y'all are amazing. No, if you have never been in the field of education, you don't understand the work that teachers put in. Like, they are amazing. Even the ones who may be there for different reasons, they are still amazing to be committed to their work day in and day out. Just because of the amount of of heavy lifting it takes. It takes a lot. But one of the things I often found myself giving teachers something to think about is when, they'll put in these referrals, or we'll have conversations, and a lot of times their comments will be around the kid just being attention seeking. That was a very common statement. Oh, they just want attention. They just want attention. And I really, there was one of those phrases I couldn't just let slip under the radar. Like, I had to, again, just give them something to think about often when that was said. And I just want to leave us with that same nugget when it comes to using the phrase attention seeking in a negative way. And I just want to leave you guys with this again. I know my thoughts went to teachers when I read this proverb, but this is for all of us when it comes to, again, shifting our perspective when we label kids or look at kids as just wanting attention. Wanting attention is not bad. That's an emotional need. But when we talk about attention seeking behaviors, I want us to just consider, can we look beyond the behavior and ask, instead of attention seeking, is this connection seeking? Can we just pause and ask ourselves that? Is this actually connection seeking? So connection seeking is basically saying, see me. It's saying, hear me. Connection seeking also says, accept me. So I don't want us to pause when we are in the in the mindset of wanting to label anything as just attention seeking. Just pause and ask, is it connection seeking? I want us to also ask, is it attunement seeking? So attunement says, understand me. It says, consider my needs, consider my feelings. So is the behavior that we're seeing, what we want to label as burning down the village, is what we are seeing, is it actually saying, I just need you to consider my needs. I need you to consider what I'm feeling. Shout out to one of my cousins, by the way. He recently sent me a message saying he was going to sit down with his kids and just give them the floor to just express how they feel. And I love that so much. I love this so much. But again, just give them the space to name the feelings they want considered, to give them the space to name the needs they want considered. That is attunement. So again, just take a step back and say, instead of me saying this is just attention seeking, could it be attunement seeking? So we have, is it connection seeking? Is it attunement seeking? And the last thing I just want us to consider, is it attachment seeking? If you caught week 2 of our weekly lives, you were able to meet Amber Ashford, the attachment specialist. Shout out to her. If you did not catch that, go on back to January and watch that replay to really understand how deep attachment is. But is it possible the behaviors we are seeing is attachment seeking? So attachment seeking says, protect me. It says, help me regulate. It also says, help me feel safe. So could it be attachment seeking the reason these behaviors are what they are, that they're present? Because again, the riot is the voice, it's the language of the unheard. Let me see. Rakisha, I see. Let me see what you said. Not a parent this time, but I'm a leader of children and I'm taking notes. Come on, leader of children. Yes, you are. And I love how intentional you are with them, Rakisha. I love that. Yes, yes, yes. So those are just the 3 things I want us to consider. Again, for me, when I read this, I thought about educators, and just the role, the important role you all play to just really be a part of the village and to embrace the kids, to embrace the children in a way where they feel safe, seen, and supported, but they also feel connected, they feel attuned, and they feel attached to what's going on. So if you are listening to this, tag an educator, just to give them something to be reminded of, something to consider when it comes to, one, just really getting to know the child, getting attuned to those real needs, and just really reframing, reconsidering how we are looking at behavior. So you guys, February, I promised y'all, we are in and out. Hi, Tracy. Y'all, look at this educator. Hey. Yes, you are, and you are an amazing one. What's up? Yes, thank you, Rakesh, for tagging. Hey, Miss Kelsey Payne. But that's all I have for you guys today. I hope you guys again just take note of that proverb. Again, I know I kind of zoomed in on the village outside of the parent, but again, it's something we all can apply. Just again, step back and ask ourselves, what could this behavior, what could it be communicating? It's usually not just looking for attention, many times looking for that connection, that attunement, and that attachment. And when we meet that need, that is when the child feels embraced by us, and that is when the village is not set ablaze. All right. So thank you guys for tuning in. Until next time, keep growing in gentleness.